I am Allison Harrison. I was born into an ordinary family with my father, Charles Harrison, working as an executive at a company, and my mother, Margaret, staying at home to manage the household. My childhood was filled with warm memories, but I always felt the pressure from my father, especially when it came to my career choices. He always wanted me to follow the traditional path, become a lawyer or a doctor. However, I had different dreams. I wanted to become a financial expert, someone who could help people manage their wealth and investments. After graduating from college, I managed to secure a position at a well-known bank. It was hard work, but I quickly moved up the ladder from an entry-level employee to a senior financial consultant. Yet, my father never understood my career path. He continued to pressure me, believing that the financial industry was too risky and unstable, especially for a woman. As time passed, the tension between us grew. I knew there was an irreparable conflict between my father's expectations and my dreams. But I pushed forward, hoping that one day I could prove myself and make a different future. As my career progressed, I started to accumulate some wealth. Despite this success, my father, Charles, remained opposed to my choice of profession. He thought that the financial industry was full of risks and not suitable for women. Over time, I began offering financial help to my parents, especially whenever my father's investment plans failed. But no matter how much I helped, it never seemed to be enough, and it only deepened my father's disappointment with me. One day, I refused to support my father's latest investment plan. The refusal enraged him. He saw it as a betrayal and expressed his frustration sharply. In a moment of anger, he said, "If you won't support me, don't come back." His words pierced my heart like a knife. I knew my father had always seen me as the family's hope, but I could no longer bear the weight of his unreasonable expectations. As painful as it was, I realized this was the moment I could finally break free from his influence and start living my life on my own terms. Leaving my parents' house was not easy. I was faced with both emotional and financial pressures. I no longer had my father's support, nor did I have the comfort of family. To make ends meet, I worked even harder, often staying late at the office, taking on more clients, and seeking out new projects. It was during this time that I met Peter Smith, a charming and successful CTO at a tech company. He was kind, thoughtful, and supportive, and we quickly developed a romantic relationship. Peter became my emotional anchor, and his support helped me to start rebuilding my life. I realized that I not only needed to succeed in my career, but also needed someone to share my life with. Peter gave me the confidence I had been lacking, and I began to see a future that was no longer defined by my father's expectations. As my relationship with Peter deepened, my career also began to take a new direction. Peter suggested I invest in a tech project that I had always been interested in. We pooled our resources and invested in a budding fintech startup. The returns were immense, and this move helped me establish a strong presence in the tech industry. My company started to attract significant attention in Silicon Valley, and we received a lot of venture capital. With hard work and vision, I was able to launch my own financial technology company, and in just a few short years, it grew into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. I had finally freed myself from my father's grip and had built a future based on my own terms. My company skyrocketed in Silicon Valley, gaining investor attention and media recognition. As my wealth grew, I felt an increasing sense of independence. I treated myself to a beachfront villa worth $30 million, a symbol of my success and of the life I had created for myself, without relying on anyone's approval or financial support. However, success didn't stop me from moving forward. I continued to innovate, leading my team to new heights in the fintech world. Despite everything, I often found myself thinking back to the years of conflict with my father. Those difficult times had made me stronger and more determined to find my own path. My success was not just about wealth, but about proving to myself that I could live for me, not for others. I received a frantic call from my mother one evening. Her voice, usually calm and steady, was filled with panic as she told me that my father, Charles, had made a disastrous investment decision that led to the collapse of his company. To make matters worse, he was now buried under a mountain of debt. The news hit me like a ton of bricks. I had always known my father had made some questionable financial choices, but I never imagined it would come to this level of destruction. I felt a whirlwind of emotions, shock, anger, and guilt. I knew I had to help, but part of me feared that by doing so, I would enable them to continue down the same destructive path. My father had never asked for my help, and yet I had always been the one to step in whenever things went wrong. This time, though, I wasn't sure what the right decision was. Should I help them again, or would it just be another cycle of dependency? I couldn't shake the conflict in my mind. The reality of the situation became even worse than I could have imagined. My father was still in denial about his role in the failure, clinging to the hope that everything would just somehow work out. Meanwhile, my mother confided in me that their house was on the verge of being auctioned off. I could feel the anxiety in their voices every time we spoke, but no matter how much I wanted to help, I couldn't help but feel trapped in a whirlwind that I couldn't escape. In the past, I had been the one to keep things together, to be the strong one. But now I realized that no amount of money could fix the deeper issues they were facing. The way they had lived, their habits, their attitude towards money, it all needed to change. And it was up to me to decide whether I would continue helping them financially or find a way to help them change their behavior. The situation wasn't just about money anymore, it was about getting them to face the truth. After much thought, I made a decision. I would sit down with my parents and have an honest conversation with them. I would help them, but only on the condition that they faced their mistakes and started making real changes. I told them that I couldn't keep giving them money without some form of accountability. I suggested that they go through financial counseling and work with professionals who could help them turn things around. It was a hard conversation. My father was furious at first, but I remained calm. This was not about blame, it was about taking responsibility. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I had to set boundaries. If they truly wanted help, they needed to acknowledge that they were the ones who needed to change, not just their circumstances. I couldn't continue being their safety net if they weren't willing to change their ways. This experience forced me to face some hard truths about myself. I realized that I had spent so much of my life trying to please others, trying to fix everything for my family, that I had neglected my own desires and dreams. I had been living for others, trying to meet their expectations rather than my own. But this situation showed me that I had to take control of my own destiny. I had to learn to put myself first, to value my own worth and make decisions based on what was best for me, not just what others needed from me. During this time, I also launched a financial fund aimed at helping young women get the support and resources they needed to succeed in the financial industry. It wasn't just about business success. It was a way for me to express my own value and to prove that I could make an impact in ways that mattered. My company quickly gained attention, and I began to see the fruits of my labor. I wasn't just successful in terms of wealth, I was successful in creating something that aligned with my values. I was no longer the person trying to fix everything for everyone. I was becoming the person I had always wanted to be. As my company continued to thrive, I was able to help my parents stabilize their financial situation. Their debts were settled, and they began to regain control over their lives. I felt a sense of relief, knowing that I had done what I could to help them, but also proud that I had set boundaries to protect myself in the process. With my personal and professional life finally in balance, I bought a beachfront villa worth $30 million. It became my sanctuary, a place where I could finally find peace and solitude. The beach became my escape from the stress and chaos of the past. It was where I could truly relax and let go of everything I had been carrying for so long. In that villa, with the sound of the waves crashing and the sun warming my skin, I felt like I had finally achieved everything I had worked for. I had built my own life, free from my father's expectations, and I had finally learned how to live for myself. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one that was entirely mine.